Hi everyone, it's David from R for the Rest of Us here, and I wanted to do a short video about reproducibility in R. I recently wrote a blog post on this topic, and I admitted to the fact that when I first started using R, I really didn't understand the value of reproducibility. I heard it talked about a lot, but I'm a social scientist, and I had kind of misconceptions about it. I assumed reproducibility meant lab scientists working in their labs, doing work, and then having other scientists reproduce their work to demonstrate that it was valid. And in fact, the value of reproducibility in R can go way beyond this. A lot of my work, for example, is about data visualization. And I'm going to actually give an example of what reproducibility means in this context. So what you're looking at is a map that I made recently for a client that I work with. It's the Ford Family Foundation. They're based here in Oregon. And I was demonstrating for them where various aspects of their work. It's for one particular program called the Ford Institute for Community Building. And I made a map for them a couple months ago. And then they came back to me last week and asked me to redo the map. So the amazing thing that I realized about R and really the value of reproducibility for me is that it allows me to reproduce my own code to update things incredibly quickly and efficiently. Let me actually show you what this means. So I'm going to close this map for a second. So we've got here the code that I originally used to develop this map, and I'll post a link to this code on GitHub so you can take a look if you're interested. Basically what I do, load my packages, set some colors that I use throughout, develop a couple function for the base map, and then the most important thing for our purposes today is that I get data from a Google Sheet, download it to an Excel spreadsheet, and then from there, I work on it. A number of other things happen because, as you saw in the map, there are a number of elements to it. I'm not going to worry about the details of the map because that's really not our purpose today. But again, you can look at this code on GitHub. So let me actually flip over to the data where I entered things on a Google Sheet. So this is actually the data as it was a couple months ago. I use by the way, the Google Sheets history function. If you want to review history, you can, and you can actually revert to previous versions. So I can actually run this now, and it'll reproduce the map that I produced a couple months ago. So I'm just going to call this, at the very end, I had a ggsave function, function that would save my plot. And so I'm just going to rename that to FIC rework map old. So I'll go ahead and run that. Oops, you don't need to do my passwords. So it's going to go ahead and run. You can see right now it's actually downloading the data from that spreadsheet. Once it does that, it should go fairly quickly. So I'm going to take a look. Pull this over to the screen, and here is my map that I produced, and this is as it was a couple months ago. Okay, so I'm going to close this for just a second, and I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go into the history here, and I'm going to restore it to the version last week, which is when I updated the data. So yes, go ahead and restore that. Great. So now I'm just going to rename that as new, so it'll save it as new. And the amazing thing with R is that I can, after I updated my data, I did a few things, like I added some new communities to the work, I changed regions for a couple, changed the level of maturity of the relationship, etc. I can actually just rerun this, and in these 3 lines, when it runs the code, it will actually just download the updated data and it will reproduce the map. So again, reproducibility. So let me go ahead and run that. Okay, great. It should produce a new version. Excellent. And I'm going to pull this over from my other screen. So here's the new version. Let me actually open the old version next to it as well. So let's take a look. In the old version here, you can see, for example, this community here was number 19. I don't remember the name of that community, but now it's number 45 and it's a different color. There's a legend that I did some post-processing on and added after the fact, but the color basically represents the level of relationship, how long they've been working in a community. So you can see, for example, it went from, I think that's a blue to an orange, which indicates, I assume, that they have a deeper relationship with that community. Overall, the point is, and you can see there are a bunch of minor changes. The communities are numbered differently, of course, because there were new communities added, some taken away. The amazing thing is, though, I was able to run this just by updating my data. I could reproduce the map in a slightly different version by just rerunning the code that I had developed earlier and just updating the data. And that's what I realized the real benefit of R in terms of reproducibility, at least for me, is being able to reproduce my own code.